right on time.
That's right. Right on time.
We are ready to go. And yeah, this is another personalized podcast. This is The League. Probably very, very, it's kind of sad actually.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
last week's, the one we did last week, the name of the league was The League 2024. And now this one is The League. Just the lack of creativity is just
Yeah.
really,
Hence
really
my
pathetic.
confusion when I was like, I was here for this, right? And you were like, no, I don't think you were on this one.
It's pathetic.
So,
Get a
but is this
little
the one?
bit of creativity.
This is the one with Mark in it, right? I think Mark's in this one. He touched me once. But I digress. I'll
Well,
try not to do too much for it.
we're going to have a conversation about Mr. Mark because yes, you were not on the previous episode. However, it was Schultze, Ryan, and myself, and we were pretty hard on Mark.
Oh, you threw Mark under the bus?
We
Did he touch you too?
probably maybe.
Okay.
We were probably as hard on him as we've ever been for any team on any of these podcasts ever.
Oh, that says a lot.
It was bad. It was bad. And if I had the reason why we were late is because I was looking around my house to see if I had a paper bag to wear with my head for this episode. I just couldn't find one. Yeah, it was bad. So we're gonna have to talk about that one because Mark is currently in first place.
Well, then it sounds like we're not even going to talk about Mark till closer to the end of the show.
We're not going to talk about him for a while, so that's all right. I can, a little embarrassing on that one, but that's all right. Still got a couple good calls we had in that episode. I blame Schultze and Ryan though. They did most of that episode without me. I popped in probably 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah, pass the buck, man. Yeah,
it was all on them. It's not my fault.
Yeah, throw them under the bus. And
at least we told them that Kyron Williams is going to have a great year again. So other than Mark, we hit everything.
Right. Yeah.
So why don't we do what we normally do? We start at the bottom with the losers, and we'll make our way up to the top.
Did you say Kyron Williams or Karen Williams? You said Kyron, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, Kyron Williams. All right. Let's start with that Young Ho.
Young Ho. That Young Ho. Don't y'all know that Young Ho be coming around?
All right. So we got...
I'm in a fun mood tonight, man.
Yeah, it's good. It's gonna make for a good show.
Yep, I'm here for it.
We got Caleb Williams.
Yep.
At quarterback. Caleb Williams starting to come on last few weeks. He's
very much so.
He's been on the rise. Kareem Hunt, nice little waiver wire pickup.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's gonna last through the year, but he's getting you through the middle of the season. Aaron Jones, same deal. He's been really good when he's been healthy. Deebo Samuel, pneumonia a couple days ago. Sounds like he's going to play on Sunday. This guy's just a beast. Drake London took a couple of weeks to get going. Really, it was Kirk Cousins that took a couple of weeks to get going.
Right.
And now we've got Drake London breaking out all over the place, being the guy that we thought he was going to be coming out of USC.
I'm here for it, man. I love Drake.
Yeah. I just traded for him in a dynasty league yesterday.
Nice.
Trey McBride, he's another one he's getting a ton of targets, ton of opportunities. He just needs the touchdowns to start coming. Once the touchdowns start coming on Trey McBride, he's going to be a top 3 tight end the rest of the year. Puka Nacua.
A lot of that has to do with Kyler is not playing the way a lot of people in the offseason thought he was going to. They were putting the crown on him a little early.
Yeah.
So hopefully he'll come around a little bit.
Yeah, I was really expecting a lot better out of Kyron this year. It's been been really disappointed to see how much he's struggled. I honestly thought that offense was going to be like a top 10 offense. I really did. Adding Marvin Harrison Jr., he's been a disappointment.
Yeah, well, he's quitting on plays, and like his body language is just ugly, man. I think he went to the George Pickens School of Effort.
That's not the school of effort you want to go to.
No, it's not.
Puka Nacua, I was at zero expectation that he was going to play this week. He didn't practice. They just activated him on Monday, I believe, his 21-day practice window. I was not prepared for him to play. And then
all of a sudden yesterday they were like, yeah, he's playing tonight.
And then he goes up and puts up 7 of 9 for 106 yards. And he carried the ball twice. I mean, he doubled Cooper Kupp's production.
Yeah.
So it was great to see him back. That offense just looks completely different when you have those two wide receivers healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And then Young Wei, who this team is named after. We don't talk about kickers, but he's there. And then on the bench, we got Kyler Murray, Raheem Mostert, Jordan Mason, Terry McLaurin, and David Njoku. This is a really strong bench.
Yeah, this guy's in last.
Yeah, he's in last.
This season so far has been kind of upside down. I'm still waiting for everything. It seems like every week something kind of falls back into place, like where it should be.
Yeah.
Like some people come around that haven't been coming around. And then there are other guys that are just still like, you're like, all right, where is he? Where is he?
Well, from what I remember from their first episode, we were pretty much consensus that this league was strong across the board, except for Mark. Mark sucks. But all 9 of these other teams, we were like, this is a really competitive league. This was a good league. It was the opposite of the league we looked at last week. That week, I felt like every team was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, this is what you get when your league sucks and you ask for a personalized pod, because you and I were just like, they suck. Where
are the good teams?
And then we found one that was like, this one doesn't suck as many as the other ones. So.
Yeah. That was such a bad league. It's just so bad.
Yeah.
But this one off to a good start. What do you think about this team overall? You think it's going to be on the rise?
Yeah, I think so. Again, we were talking about things falling into place. It took London a little bit with Cousins. Aaron Jones is always a little touch and go with injuries, but Debo has been doing his thing and will continue to do so without Ayuk on the field. And Caleb Williams was a little late to the party. I was going to play Caleb this week because they're playing against Washington. And then now I'm hearing that maybe Jaden Daniels isn't going to play in that game. So now I'm expecting the Bears to lean a little more on the run game without having to engage in a shootout anymore. So, but Caleb Williams looks awfully good. He looks awfully good. In the last couple weeks. So, I like this team. I still, if you didn't tell me the records, you didn't tell me this team was in last. I would have guessed at this point in the season, probably top 5 at least. This is only 10-team league, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd put him in the top 5 with a real shot at first if everything went the way it was supposed to begin with.
Yeah, and I think getting Puka back is gonna really make a big difference here.
Yeah, plus he has beautiful hair. So
of course. He does. He really does. I'm very jealous. I think David Njoku is going to thrive. I know you got Trey McBride, but David Njoku is going to thrive with Cooper gone, Deshaun Watson gone. I think we could get a top 5 rest of season performance from David Njoku.
Yeah, I think Njoku is going to do better with anybody but Deshaun Watson. Like Deshaun Watson just has something against throwing to the tight ends. I don't know what it was, but he just never seemed to target Njoku. And then we saw what happened last year when Flacco came in.
which is ironic because he really likes tight ends.
Right. So anyway, yeah, I'm expecting to see this team on the rise for sure.
All right, let's move on to chasing championships.
We're going to be chasing them from the bottom.
From the bottom, 2 and 5. Brock Purdy at quarterback, Bijan Robinson. Got Devon Achane at running back, who I think is just going to see a massive, massive improvement with Tua back in that offense. I think he was hurt as bad as Tyreek, as bad as Jalen Waddle, because you need running backs also. It's an underrated thing, but running backs need a good quarterback as well, especially a guy like Devon Achane, where he's not this workhorse back. He needs those running lanes. He needs those explosive opportunities. They're so creative with him. You saw the first couple of weeks, I think he caught 7 or 9 passes over the first couple of weeks. They were so creative with the usage of him that once Tua was out of the lineup, that creativity goes away. They don't trust Skylar Thompson. They don't trust Tyler Huntley to handle the football in the ways that Tua was handling the football to be able to get Achane the ball in those creative type of ways.
Yeah, and consequently, the defense doesn't either. So the defense is like, we don't think this quarterback can beat us. So we just need to concentrate on stopping these fast running backs they have. I mean, Mostert's like, 90 years old, and he's still one of the faster players in the league.
Yeah.
But yeah, although I was going to say it on the last team, his role is really diminished. We'll see if he bounces back, but I think Achane he's gonna take control of this backfield and start seeing more and more carries.
Yeah, it could be by the end of the year. It could be the Achane and Jalen Wright show.
I think it should be.
Yeah. But Mostert does still have enough juice left, like you said, to still be relevant in that backfield.
Yeah, and they just gave him a contract not long ago. So,
all right, let's move on to wide receiver. We got Jamar Chase having a nice year.
That's right.
Chris Olave coming back off the injury, but he still has why can't I think of his name? Spencer Rattler at quarterback. And so he's on my bench until Derek Carr comes back.
Right.
Even at that point, I mean, I've never been a huge Olave guy, at least not this year.
I'm not an Olave guy at all because he plays for the Saints. Yeah. And you just never can tell. Even with Derek Carr liking him and Derek Carr, doing better than I think a lot of people give him credit for. It's still not, I don't think you can count on the level of consistency matching the talent that Olave has.
Well,
with his quarterback situation.
I mean, just case in point, those first 2 weeks, the Saints that offense absolutely exploded, and Chris Olave was left behind. He was the wide receiver 85 and the wide receiver 26.
Yeah, it was all Rashid Shaheed to start the season.
Rashid Shaheed was the wide receiver one that offense.
Yep.
Jake Ferguson at tight end. He's just just volume guy. Romeo Doubs, probably the 4th best receiver in that offense, but he's on the field. He gets used in a high-powered offense, lots of pass attempts, good quarterback. He gets the touchdowns. So you got to
he's got a low floor, but he's got a high ceiling. So it's just, it's like you can't bench him, but you also can't count on him to be, your savior each week.
Right. Dak Prescott on the bench. I think that's fine there. Austin Eckler, Jameson Williams suspended, Jordan Addison, and Pat Freiermuth. I think this bench leaves a little bit to be desired.
Yeah. I wonder if Eckler's starting to show his age, where at the beginning of the season he wasn't really. He still looked like he had a lot of juice, and now you gotta wonder if Washington's starting to look at McNichols every time he gets in the game and goes, it might be better than Eckler. You know what I mean? Because he's a talented dude. I'm not a huge Jordan Addison fan, but you got a guy in a high-powered offense, so much like Dobbs, he's worth having.
He needs touchdowns. Jordan
Yeah,
Addison needs the touchdowns to get there.
yeah. And Jameson's another one who's streaky. This is a very streaky lineup. You've got the Dobbs, you got Ferguson, who's got a low floor. We've seen Olave. But on the bench, you've got Jameson Williams, who can boom or bust. Addison, who's not finding the end zone much. Freiermuth is really going to benefit from having Russell Wilson there, I think.
Yeah.
And that's even beyond the fact that Fields already was throwing him the ball. But Arthur Smith loves his tight ends. I think between Freiermuth and Darnell Washington last week, they had 6 catches, and Freiermuth was averaging like 25.1 yards per catch, which is unheard of for a tight end. But yeah, this is I'm not terribly surprised that this team is closer to the bottom right now, just for the sake of inconsistency. There's good players here. And if they were all to get hot at the same time, I think it would be massive. But that's asking a lot.
Yeah, and you gotta remember that this is also a 10-team league, so this team looks pretty good for like a 12-teamer.
Yeah.
10-team, I'm expecting a little bit more talent.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, let's move on to the Mud Dogs. This is the commissioner of the league, so we got to be nice.
Okay. Well, he's not watching, so that's okay.
That's right.
He's going to watch later.
All right, so we got.
So we can say whatever the fuck we want about the commissioner.
That's right. Tua, that's going to be huge to have him back. We already kind of talked about that, but especially with this team also having Tyreek Hill, the fact that he has survived to be 3-4 without the guy that he drafted in the first round, probably a top 3, top 5 pick. That's saying a lot.
Yeah.
So let's. Kyren Williams has had a good year. I mean, touchdowns. Someday those touchdowns are going to go away, and everybody's going to be looking around like, what the hell happened? What the hell happened to Kyren Williams? Well, he stopped scoring touchdowns. But at this point, that day hasn't come.
How many does he have now? He's got like 9, doesn't he?
He scored 1 in every game. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus he had 1. That's only rushing. 8, 9, 10. He's got 10 touchdowns in 8 games. 7 games.
That's like, when Mostert finished at the top of the RB conversation last year, everybody was like, why? And then you looked at the touchdown column and you were like, oh.
Someday, Blake Corum is going to get worked into that offense a little bit more. And those touchdowns are not all going to go to Kyren Williams. The wide receivers are back. Some of those touchdowns are going to go to Puka. Some of those are going to go to Cooper Kupp.
But he has played well thus far, for sure.
Yeah, sure.
And I give him credit because I thought he'd already be injured by now.
Yeah.
At least once, at least banged up, miss a game here, miss a game there. So the fact that he's staying upright is pretty good. And what you said about Tua and Tyreek is right on. It's well documented how I feel about doing stacks in redraft leagues. But this is one of the ones that's an exception to what I consider my rule. If you can get Tua and Tyreek on a team, then, I mean, that's, it's like those two, Burrow and Jamar, Dak and CD. If you can stack those, then those are good ones. And if they come back, if Tua comes back with a vengeance and is throwing to his boy again, then they're going to score a lot of points. Try to make up for lost time.
Yeah. Other wide receivers, we've got T. Higgins, who's been having a great year. He popped up on the injury report this week, though, so we'll see what happens with that. Cole Kmet, he's been first couple of weeks were really quiet. He's been better as that offense and as Caleb Williams have developed. Tank Dell has been probably one of the most disappointing players in fantasy football, even with Nico Collins out.
Yeah, last week.
Still not happening. It's just not happening. I don't know if it's the leg injury he's coming off of, or I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. And I you have to wonder if Stroud has something to do with it too, because no one had a particularly great game last week. I was sitting here touting Diggs, and he had like 5 catches for 60 yards, but like that's 5 catches for 60 yards. Like that's not the kind of production you want to see filling in for Nico Collins. And I agree, Dell all season has been just kind of a miss really so far, and I expected when Nico went out for him to really show up, but not yet.
He's got one game with more than 11 points.
Yeah.
Sad.
Got a good shot on Sunday, the Indianapolis. If he can't do it against that defense, then he's not going to do it.
I was just going to say, if he doesn't happen this week, it's not happening. Jaden Daniels on the bench. So I guess, having 2 out really hasn't hurt you other than for Tyreek, because you've had Jaden Daniels been able to ride him. And when he's healthy, you're playing him over 2 anyway.
Right.
Blake Corum on the bench. We like that. Don't drop Blake Corum. Travis Etienne dealing with injury issues, losing ground to Tank Bigsby. Ricky Pearsall is an interesting sleeper now with Brandon Ayuk out. We'll see what happens with him. And DeAndre Hopkins is at least intriguing with the Chiefs, at least more than he was with the Titans.
For sure, because the Titans couldn't move the ball for shit. Yeah, I like Pearsall too. I think Pearsall is interesting with Ayuk out. It just remains to be seen how involved they're going to get him in that offense. I know Juwan is out this week, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody's got to catch the ball in San Francisco. You know what I mean? It can't just be Kittle the whole time. So there's real opportunities there for Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing to make a splash in their first season. Let me ask you this: if you remember, when you first did this this league, did he draft Corum along with Kyron?
I don't remember, but let me look at the.
I wonder if he did that, or if he added him off of waivers.
Let me look.
Either way, it's neither here nor there. All I was going to say was, regardless, that's pretty good foresight.
Added him off waivers.
Especially, it's pretty good foresight just to have that handcuff there. Whether he takes over the job or whether Kyron gets hurt, even if he's not producing. I've got a league where I've got Breece Hall, and I refuse to drop Braylon Allen because I know he's going to be like immense if Hall were to go down. And I think the same thing goes here.
Oh yeah. Especially now with those wide receivers back, if anything happens to Kyron Williams and Blake Corum suddenly becomes the bell cow in that offense, Blake Corum is going to be basically what you're getting from Kyron Williams. He's going to be a 1-for-1.
Yeah, and you can't stop him near the end zone. He's just, I guess Kyron's the same way too.
Yeah, they like to use him a lot in the red zone. I would anticipate that being pretty similar with Blake Corum. He had a really nice blitz pickup last night too, which is exciting, for just them trusting him to be on the field when you see something like that.
That's a lot of times people forget that a lot of times these running backs have trouble getting on the field, and what they don't tell you is that if they can't pick up a blitz and they can't block in the backfield, that severely limits their opportunities. That's what happened with Chase Brown when he first started with Cincinnati. He didn't get any shots last year because he was such a horrible blocker. He's not even that good yet, but he's better.
Yeah.
And he's earned his way into getting on the field more often, whether he's running the ball or not, because you don't want to just put somebody in, have the defense go, well, he's going to run the ball because he can't block. So, yeah, I agree with you. That's good to see for Corum as well.
What are we expecting for? I know we talked about it a little bit. Are we expecting DeAndre Hopkins to jump right into the Rashee Rice, Juju Smith-Schuster role? That's what they've told us that he's going to do, even though that really hasn't been historically the type of role that we've seen Hopkins in. He's been more of that outside, clasher, jump ball, contested catch guy.
It seems like he'd be more of the Hollywood Brown type of guy. You know what I mean? The stretch in the field. Yeah, that's what they said, and I was a little curious about that. I don't know if Reed was just saying that for the sake of saying, like, he's a guy that's going to replace these other guys. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in number of snaps and amount of time on the field. But I can't imagine that they're going to use DeAndre Hopkins just as a crossing pattern guy,
Yeah, I would like to see him kind of moved around and play a little bit of that role, play a little bit of his typical outside role. But I think if he's dominating the middle of the field, like Rashee Rice was doing, that's really going to hurt Travis Kelce, because when Rice went out, we saw, kind of a bump back up to normal, at least close to normal Travis Kelce numbers. And I'm afraid with Hopkins in there, if he's going to be playing that role, we're going to go right back to those first few weeks where Travis Kelce was.
Yeah, and the two can coexist. They can. It's just they're going to have to be a little more creative with the play calling. I'm looking forward to seeing if they throw Hopkins some fades in the.
Yeah, he's one of, if not the best in the league at that.
Exactly. He's so good at that, and it's pretty to watch. So, so that might be. I'm assuming that was a pickup on waivers, because you probably would have dropped him by now if you drafted him. So that's sneaky good pickup right there.
All right, let's move on from this team. The commissioner didn't pay us any extra to talk good about his team, so let's move on.
Yep, screw him.
So total carnage. This is one of the teams that I kind of liked when we did it the first time around. So I'm interested to see how things are looking right now. They are 3-4, just below the cut line for the playoffs. They've lost. They lost last week. They're pretty low as far as total scoring compared to the other teams. So let's kind of see how this one shakes out. We got Jalen Hurts at quarterback. Pretty ugly with Alexander Madison sitting there at running back. Alvin Kamara is in there. He's had a great year. Devontae Smith, pretty bad last week, but I think we'll get
love him for the rest of the season. I love him for the rest of the season.
The schedule for the Eagles rest of season is beautiful.
Yeah.
Jaden Reed, one of these guys who's kind of boom bust, but we got to embrace the volatility with a guy like Jaden Reed, because he can give you those weak winning performances.
It's just Packers receivers. You know what I mean? Like, there's no one of them that's like, that's the guy you want. You know what I mean?
Right. But if I'm trusting any of them, it's definitely Jaden Reed. I'm comfortable starting him week in, week out.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Evan Ingram has jumped right back into being the target hog that he was a year ago. Devontae Adams, we'll see how he works out with the Jets. Had a decent number of targets in his first game. Kind of see how things play out there. I think he'll do pretty well. Maybe not what we saw with him back in his Packers days, but can we get a step or half a step down from that? I think we can.
Well, I think Aaron Rodgers will force feed him too. Yeah.
Baker Mayfield just took a big hit by losing his top two wide receivers, unfortunately. I think at this point, in a 10-team league, you have Jalen Hurts. He's probably droppable. Not that he's going to be a zero, but I don't think you need. I don't think he's somebody you have to hang on to at this point.
Right.
Bucky Irving has been really nice. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is an interesting stash, but again, in a 10-team league, I'm probably not that interested.
Yeah, no, I don't like that at all.
Jalen McMillan, I think he's probably the biggest benefactor from the Godwin and Evans
Yeah, probably
injuries.
he and probably Trey Palmer.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see like how the roles kind of shake out, like who's going to play the slot. Jalen McMillan played a ton of slot in college, but they've been playing him out wide, and I think they like Sterling Shepard in the slot. It'll
Yeah,
be
man,
interesting to
everybody
see.
went out and snapped up Sterling Shepard, and I was like, "Do you guys remember who Sterling Shepard is?" Like, I'm just not a fan at
Sterling,
all.
yeah, Sterling's just going to get you those, those PPR games you need to fill in for a bye week or an injury. He might give you, 4 for 50, give you a
Yeah,
nice 9 or 10 points, and you're kind of done
it'll,
with it.
it'd
He's
be
not going to give you the upside.
a chain mover at
Yeah,
best, without
we're-
having a whole lot of breakaway speed and stuff like
right. Whereas I think Jalen McMillan is probably going to be pretty steady
that.
producer, as well as giving you kind of a little bit of a ceiling. I think he's going to jump right in this week and be a top 20, top 24 wide receiver right out the
I
gate
think good.
against the
Yeah,
Falcons. And then I think Trey Palmer is kind of going to be his boom bust. He'll give you, he might give you a handful of spike weeks, and then he's also going to give you a handful of nothings.
right.
Keenan Allen on the bench. He's fine. I think at some point he's going to start losing ground to Rome Odunze. But for now, solid.
Yeah, I like Keenan a lot. I don't think he's I don't think he's left for dead yet, for sure. Especially you want to see how he progresses with Caleb Williams getting better and better.
Right.
We've seen 2 really good games out of Caleb, and in one of them, Keenan had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So you want to see how he grows with him. And there's the reason that Madison's at running back is because CMC's on the IR.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'd be tempted as long as Bucky Irving's playing this week, which it sounds like he's going to. I think I'd roll him out over Madison.
I've got. I think there's better people on without looking at the waiver wire in a 10-team league. There's got to be somebody better than Madison, in my opinion.
We'll have to pull it up.
At the very least for this week, because you don't want to run him out there against the Chiefs.
Yeah, there's some decent options on the waiver wire. We got Zach Moss, Braylon Allen, Devin Singletary, Tyler Algier, Jalen Warren. It's probably interesting, especially going against the Giants this week. Justice Hill, in PPR formats, pretty solid here and there for you. Roshan Johnson.
I like Roshan.
Kamani Vidal is out there.
Singletary is interesting that he's sitting on the waivers because I don't think Tracy just took the job from him. Worst case scenario, I think it's a shared situation. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me showing my hatred for Madison. I can't stand the guy.
Anybody but Madison is
right. But against the Chiefs too. I mean, the Chiefs' run defense is no joke. Their defense as a whole is no joke this year.
And game script, you're going to be playing from behind.
Right.
And Zamir White's back.
Yeah.
So now you got a committee with Alexander Madison.
Yeah, who's going to go off this
week.
I can't wait to see who has Brock Bowers because he's going off on Sunday. He is going off.
All right. We done with this team?
Yeah, let's go to the Nick Johnsons.
We just need Christian McCaffrey back with this team. We'll be all right.
We do, and we want him to stay back once he comes back.
Yes.
My big fear is he's going to come back, play one game, and then they're going to shut him down for the season.
Yeah, because the Achilles tendonitis is one of those injuries that is exactly like that. You think you're past it, you think it's behind you, and then pops right back up. All right, Laporta's Big Johnsons. Jordan Love. We already talked up Jordan Love. We love Jordan Love. J.K. Dobbins. Ride him until he breaks. James Cook trending down. Do you agree with that, James Cook?
I don't know. I think James Cook is fine.
Yeah, he'll be a good play this week against the Seahawks, but I think he's going to start losing ground to Ray Davis. Ray Davis is an exceptional receiver out of the backfield, kind of an underrated element of his profile. And James Cook is kind of an overrated receiver out of the backfield.
Yeah. I'm still not sold on Ray Davis because people have been saying that about him for a while.
You didn't see what he did on that Monday Night Football game? You got to
Yeah, I did.
Was that enough for you?
I did. That was not enough for me. But I think I don't see a situation where James Cook is going to come out of anybody's lineup. You know what I mean?
No,
even if they start working Ray Davis in more, I still think it's James Cook's backfield.
Yeah, it's just if I have James Cook, I'm definitely fielding offers.
You just got rookie fever.
Maybe that could be part of it, but I love me some Ray Davis, and I've always been low on James Cook anyway.
Gotcha.
Justin Jefferson, we don't have to say much about Justin Jefferson. He's a stud.
He's pretty good.
George Pickens is Russell Wilson, the hero we didn't know we needed.
Yeah. It pains me. It pains me because anybody that knows me knows I really hate George Pickens. I can't. I've never liked him. I can't stand him. I take great delight in him having like 2 catches for 20 yards. But as a person just watching football, yeah, I mean, Wilson came in there and I think we're going to see more of that, of Wilson getting the ball down there. All you have to do with George Pickens is get the ball within like 8 feet of him and he's got a shot at it. Yeah. You know what I mean? The problem is Justin Fields can't even get the ball within 8 feet of anybody. So, I mean, I think Pickens really benefits from Russell Wilson here. It's just, will he start crying again if he's not getting the ball enough?
Yeah, that's the problem. Moving on to
Mr. Laporta.
Sam Laporta, the guy this team is named after.
Yeah, the namesake.
Sam Laporta. We got to have a conversation about Sam Laporta because Sam Laporta, you probably drafted him in like the 2nd or 3rd round. And that was a mistake. That was terrible. Two, I don't even know if he's going to finish as a top 10 tight end this year on the year.
Right.
I mean, the Lions defense is too good and they're not throwing the ball enough. Instead, they're giving those pass attempts that they were throwing last year. A lot of those are just turning into runs for Dave Montgomery instead.
Right.
And
not to mention that, Jameson Williams had a whole offseason. He came out and proved he needed to be in starting lineup. I know he's suspended right now, but and then hell, even Tim Patrick is making catches now.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're throwing the ball to Tim Patrick before Laporta, something's wrong, and
right,
I like Tim Patrick. I like Tim Patrick. It's just that he's a million years old.
Yeah. I mean, who knew that that Jameson Williams was going to start taking drugs to improve his performance, and that was going to be enough to put him over Sam Laporta.
Right. Who knew? But Laporta, yeah, I'm not really sure what to make of it because if you look at his stats from last year, it's like everybody chose to ignore that the games that he did not score a touchdown, he did not really do much. You know what I mean? And then he'd have this boom game where he scored once or twice and had like 60 yards. But his, I think, only touchdown this year was on that crazy trick play they did, the double reverse flea flicker thingamahoober hobber that they did. I mean, if it takes that to get your tight end open, that's a problem.
You want to hear something really depressing?
I love depressing things.
So we know how bad of a season that Mark Andrews has had this year.
Uh-huh.
Well, Mark Andrews is the tight end 11 right now.
Yes, he is.
Sam Laporta is the tight end 22. Bad.
Well,
Bad.
all Mark Andrews had to do was go out and score 2 touchdowns last week, and all of a sudden he went way
Yeah.
up the standings.
I mean, to be fair, Sam Laporta has had a bye week, but still.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers is playing well. He's playing well. They're throwing the ball more in that offense. He's got a little bit of an ankle injury, but I've always loved Zay Flowers. And we got my guy Ray Davis. Ray Davis on the bench. I know we love ourselves some Ray Davis.
This is somebody else that's cuffing one of their running backs. I like that. I like you guys.
And then we got Chase Brown. Chase Brown has been breaking out with the last few weeks. He's certainly by far the more explosive running back in that backfield. So it was only a matter of time. He just needed to earn the trust. And he needed them to realize that, oh, you know what? Zach Moss is just Zach Moss. He had a couple nice big runs last year behind a nice Colts offensive line, broke through, these wide, lanes that you could have driven a truck through.
Right.
And now it's like, oh, wait a second. Zach Moss, he's still just Zach Moss. And Chase Brown actually has some juice, has some explosiveness.
Yeah, Moss is he's fine. I think that backfield will remain pretty much an even split. But Chase Brown is the one you want a little more because he's got that Achane factor of every time he touches the ball, something big could happen. Whereas with Moss, you just know that the something big is going to be like 4.5, 5 yards.
Yeah, when they need somebody on the backfield that they just trust, that's when they're going to go to Zach Moss.
Right, of course. Yeah.
Which does worry me a little bit for Chase Brown, because if he makes a few mistakes here and there, he falls out of trust. That's when that shift could change. But it seems like
he fumbled. Was it last week or week before? He fumbled, and everybody was like, "Oh, yeah, now they're not going to put him in anymore." But Moss fumbled too, so the Bengals are like, "Well, what do we do? We'll just call that even." Those are offsetting fumbles.
All right. Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy is interesting. I mean, for a moment, his value really spiked after last week. I know he didn't produce necessarily, but he had 8 targets on the day, which was 4 times more than any other wide receiver on that offense. He was kind of exciting, all right, maybe if the volume starts to be there, the target share is a little bit more consistent, maybe we start seeing more of those big boom weeks from Xavier Worthy. And then they go out and they trade for DeAndre Hopkins. I had Xavier Worthy teed up for my buys and sells video. I was going to say buy Xavier Worthy, and then I said buy to that write-up after they traded for DeAndre Hopkins. I still think he's a buy low, but it's not.
Right.
I'm not as enthusiastic about it as I was.
I'm still just laughing at the buy. Did you have to pay royalties for that?
I might have to. We're going to be demonetized.
Yeah, I would love to see this is what I picture. What I picture is, here's the Chiefs playbook, right? Here's all the offensive plays they can do. And then here's the one they give to Xavier Worthy. Like, you just learn these 10 plays. You know what I mean? I want to know what his route tree is and what his, is he just going long every time? Is he just going long and cross every time?
Well,
because Mahomes doesn't always like that either. you know?
If you look at what he did at Texas, he's certainly capable of doing a heck of a lot more than just going deep. He was a complete receiver
Yeah,
at
he
Texas.
was.
I'd like to see them utilize him a little bit more, over the middle of the field and in the short and intermediate areas. But I do think it's coming. I think it's coming. I'm a little, like I said, I'm a little less optimistic about that now with Hopkins there, but I still think we're going to get more consistency, more boom weeks from Xavier Worthy. He's always going to be boom bust, but I think we might get some more booms in the second half.
Yeah. He's gonna be on the bench, but he's gonna be a valuable bye-week fill-in for sure. And if he really catches fire, then he'll work his way into the lineup on a more permanent basis.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun, when you're checking your lineup after the week and you see this nice big 25 pointer on your bench. It's going to be really exciting.
Right. Because everybody loves that.
Yeah. You get the same deal with Darnell Mooney and Christian Watson. Just you're never going to start the right guy. They're always the guy that you keep on your bench out of these three. That's the guy that's going to go off that week.
Right. Yeah, and every time you do hit, you gotta really celebrate. I mean, like, go out and throw down. You know what I mean? But both guys that are capable. Mooney's been really fun this year. To see him just kind of come out of nowhere and grab a hold of that role. And Watson, we still just don't know what to make of him. You know what I mean? He's staying more healthy this time around, but he's still not getting the targets I think Watson should be getting. So I don't know. And then we got Pacheco on IR. He might come back right before your playoffs, maybe.
Hey, yeah.
But yeah.
Overall for this team, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean the core pieces are solid. With Love and Dobbins, as long as he lasts.
Right.
And Jefferson, you want to see Laporta turn it around, and then you've got four guys in your starting lineup that you're depending on for a certain number of points every week, and that's good. So I think they're where they're ranked right now at sixth, just above the cut line for the playoffs, is probably appropriate.
Yeah. I'd be trying to package a couple of these guys to try to upgrade my starting lineup. Go get a difference maker receiver or difference maker running back. Maybe take Pickens coming off the big week last week, pair him with a James Cook, pair him with a J.K. Dobbins, and go and upgrade somewhere. You could upgrade a wide receiver and then just slide Chase Brown into your running back 2 spot. All right, let's move on to Buffalo's finest.
Some people still have a lot of love for Xavier Worthy too, so he's a good one to dangle out there to start talks.
Yeah.
Buffalo's finest.
We got Patrick Mahomes, probably the most overrated quarterback in fantasy football right now. Not real life. Still the best quarterback in real football. The most overrated in fantasy right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we talked about it last week. I think especially in a league like this, 10 teams might be droppable.
Where he doesn't have a backup.
Might be droppable. Yeah, it doesn't have a backup. Yeah. Sam Darnold's out there, Kirk Cousins out there, Geno Smith's out there.
Sam Darnold's out there?
Yeah, Anthony Richardson's out there.
So?
Drake May's out there.
Nobody cares about Anthony Richardson.
I do. I would rather have a handful of these guys that are available on the waiver wire right now.
Yeah, Darnold. I would absolutely take Darnold.
I might even be willing to start Bo Nix over Patrick Mahomes this week.
With the way he's playing right now.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. I don't know what show that was, but one of our shows, we talked about how Patrick Mahomes hasn't had a top 12 fantasy performance since week 12 of 2023.
That's crazy.
Wait, but by the way, however, that did come against the Raiders, who they're playing this week. Just saying. A little optimism.
Yeah, you like him. You like him this week.
Yeah. I'd still
Or
rather
you
start
like,
a couple this
or
week.
you like Kareem Hunt. I don't know. The Raiders are terrible. It's not going to be a shootout. I'll tell you that much.
No.
But so we got the resurgent Joe Mixon, who stopped dancing and just started running forward, and he's having a very good season so far.
Yeah.
Montgomery, the safest bet in prop sports betting, is probably a David Montgomery anytime touchdown every week.
Mm-hmm.
Other than maybe
He and Kyron Williams. Yep.
him and Kyron Williams, might as well parlay it. Amon Ra, the sun god, he's coming on a little more after the first couple games. He was just a little slow, but and Garrett Wilson, same deal. Once they fired the coach, they went back to what they know works, which is forcing the ball to Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson.
You mean they decided to give it to their good players instead of Allen
They
Lazard?
decided to give it to their good players.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Wow.
I
think that has as much to do with Nathaniel Hackett as it does with Robert Saleh.
Right. So they, and then they went out and got Adams. So I think that's going to free up Wilson a little bit. It's going to be a pick your poison for the safeties, especially in like a cover 2 in that defense, or who's coming over the top. You're going to go over the top of Devontae. You're going to go over the top of Garrett Wilson. One of them is going to end up one-on-one. So I like Garrett Wilson. He's getting slagged a lot this year. I'm still a fan.
Certainly not going to get any more 22 target games, though. 23 target games.
Probably not. Adams might.
He might, yes. That's what worries me about Garrett Wilson. The volume is going to go Adams.
We got Kincaid coming around. The matchup with Seattle is good this week, too. Amari Cooper now of the Bills. So he's got 2 of the pass catchers on the Bills who, in theory, should be the 1 and 2 pass catchers. Although Keon Coleman tried to screw that up, but I can't imagine he's going to continue that.
Do you know that every single one of Keon Coleman's targets came with Amari Cooper on the sideline?
Oh, really? I did not know that.
So if you have Keon Coleman, put him on the block.
Right. Or just call the Bills and ask them, how often
What's the plan this week?
Yeah. Are you thinking like second quarter is all Coleman? On the bench, we got Rachaad White, who is in a share with Bucky and with
Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker.
Although I don't think Sean Tucker is really that much a part of that share yet. I mean, he had that good game. But
if we are talking about beneficiaries of Godwin and Evans being out, Rachaad White's going to be even more involved in the passing game than he was before.
Yep, for sure. For sure. I would expect to see him on the field every third down, regardless of what Bucky Irving's doing. And they can coexist.
And guess what? He's averaged more than 4 yards per carry in 3 straight games.
Yeah.
It's a miracle.
It is. Tank Bigsby is a breath of fresh air, and I'm here for it. I got him for cheap in a ton of my dynasty leagues, because I'm a big fan of putting my money where my mouth is. And I wrote that ETN article last year.
Yeah,
and I was like, no, Bigsby's he's gonna come, and I got lambasted for it on all the message boards. Everybody's like, this guy's saying Bigsby might take the job from ETN. What a moron!
I don't know. I if I have Tank Bigsby, I'm celebrating. I'm happy,
Yeah.
But I'm definitely I'm shopping him around. I'm seeing who else is excited about Tank Bixby because I think right now, this very moment is the highest that his value is going to be for this year.
I
Because
agree.
even when Travis Etienne comes back, even if you think Tank Bigsby is going to take over the job, Travis Etienne is not just going to go away. He's still going to
No.
be involved enough to prevent these types of 100+ yard performances from Tank Bigsby, these 2 touchdown performances from Tank Bigsby. And then you get to the passing game where he is a complete zero. It's been
Yeah.
the Dearness Johnson show over the last 2 weeks. Tank Bigsby has 2 catches in his entire career.
Right.
So he's not going to be involved in the passing game. So this will and they don't get to play they don't get to play the Patriots every week either. They're going to be playing from behind most weeks, so they're going to be in comeback mode. They're going to be throwing, and
Well,
that's going to be ETN. That's going to be
yeah,
Dearness
of course,
Johnson, not Tank Bigsby.
they stink, and so they're going to be playing catch up an awful lot. All I'm saying is I like him a lot. I agree with you though. It is time to shop him around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because when ETN comes back, that could drop as far down as a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd pull him any lower than that. Or they might give him first and second and bring ETN in on third downs all the time. I don't know. But either way, he's been a really good story this season. So you're right. You shop him, see if you can capitalize on that story and what you can get for him, especially if you're in need. So we got Roma Dunze. We just talked about him with Keenan Allen. Right now, he's still kind of hot and cold. It's kind of a right place, right time kind of thing. Keon Coleman, we just talked about him.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you should shop him and Bigsby together to upgrade another position.
Yeah.
There you go. See?
Yeah.
See what I did there? And then JSN. What do you think about JSN with Metcalf out? And we don't know how long Metcalf will be out. We just know that these are lingering injuries.
Yeah, if Metcalf is out this week, which it sounds like he's definitely going to be, I think he's doubtful. I really like Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think he can be a top 20 scorer on the week. Going against the Bills and what should be a shootout, this should be a really high scoring game, which is going to mean a lot of passes from Geno Smith. He already leads the NFL in pass attempts anyway, as is. And now you take a guy like DK Metcalf out of that lineup, and I think it's going to be the Jackson Smith-Njigba show.
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett will get plenty as well, but I think I would expect JSN to lead the team in targets, lead the team in receptions, receiving production. And like I said, if they get themselves into a shootout with the Bills, and then you got the Rams next week, that could be another shootout.
Yeah.
We could have a really strong couple of weeks from Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Right. Josh, the Bills are not going to win by 100.
99.
But maybe 99. It's interesting because I think what they'll do is they'll come out and really lean on Kenneth Walker, who's been so good this year when he's healthy. They'll lean on him, but you can't win a shootout when the other team is throwing the ball and you're running the ball. It just doesn't happen. But he'll get his against a weak Bills run defense. But yeah, once they're behind and playing catch up, I agree. I think it's JSN time at that point. It's just a question of whether or not Lockett's going to vulture some of his end zone touches.
Yeah. I would give you my thoughts on Roman Dunze, but we might talk about him on a different show later tomorrow.
What?
Ooh, spoiler alert.
That's a sleeper.
Yeah, 9 p.m. tomorrow. Tune in. Yards for Fantasy on YouTube. Check it out.
Tomorrow, sleepers.
Not on this channel, our main channel. Link is in the bio. In the description.
Okay, what are we moving on to? We're moving on to okay.
The Muscle Hamsters.
The
Remember
Muscle
Doug
Hamsters.
Martin? Doug Martin.
So named for Doug.
Doug Martin. I just did it 3 times. Doug Martin.
I just did it 3 times. All right, the Muscle Hamsters. You want me to go down it?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, Josh Allen, who I'm sure Buffalo's finest probably wishes they had, is a quarterback. What can you say? I mean, Josh Allen, he's set it and forget it.
Yep.
Regardless of who he's playing against.
Oh,
Matter of fact, sometimes the tougher matchups are even better for him.
do you see the parentheses under his name?
Uh-uh. Under
Under Josh Allen's name on the lineup? I don't know if you can see it on your screen.
oh.
So why don't you trade him to the Buffalo's finest? You know they
Yeah,
want him.
trade him to
They'll
Buffalo
overpay for
Fires
him.
if he's that overrated.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just trying to get under his skin.
Probably.
So Josh Allen, the aforementioned Kenneth Walker, who is about to go off on Sunday.
Yeah.
Javante, who is also about to go off on Sunday, just wrote about him today.
Yes, I agree.
In my props article. CeeDee Lamb, who just needs the touchdowns. You know what I mean? He's still like wide receiver 8, wide receiver 9, something like that. Well, it's probably lower now because they had a bye last week.
Yeah, the bye week, yeah.
But I mean, he's still performing. He's just not getting into the end zone. And that seems to be a problem with Dallas kind of across the board, really.
Right. We're missing those big spike weeks that he was giving us last year.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with Jamar, too. They both are. You know, and I'm talking about like those like 35 point.
Yeah, those massive games. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, you know, you could use CeeDee Lamb, you want him in your line of DJ Moore, who you don't hear his name very often. But I mean, he's doing DJ Moore things again. I don't think he's scored hardly at all this year. Has he? I don't know.
I'd tell you, but I lost the screen that I was on.
That's all right. I don't really need the answer that much, but Travis,
I'm gonna get it for you.
Travis Kelce,
3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns. See, yeah, you would think he would have more.
Yeah.
You know, everybody was screaming about how Keenan Allen's a waste of space. Well, he got 2 touchdowns in 1 game, and DJ Moore has 3 on the season. So,
to be fair, 2 of DJ Moore's also came in 1 game.
Okay, but you know what I'm saying. Like, we're gonna throw Keenan under the bus. Why don't you just throw all the wide receivers under the bus? Everybody sucks but Komet. No, but obviously he's fine. Like he's consistent. Travis Kelce, who benefited a lot from Rice being out, we saw them going in that direction. There's just like Alex said, the question is, you know, how is he going to coexist with DeAndre Hopkins if they start using DeAndre in the middle of the field?
Right.
If they're smart, they won't do that so much.
All right. Like I said before, I'd like to see a mix. A little bit in the middle, a little bit outside.
Yeah.
Let's get a combination so we can get Hopkins and Travis Kelce going.
Right. Jalen Waddle, once again, like we said with all the Miami guys, does nothing but benefit with Tua there. And Jalen Waddle is in my opinion underrated. He actually had a really good season last year. He just didn't get the touchdowns. And so Tyreek, and it's hard to get any attention when you're on Tyreek Hill's team.
I mean, he had 1 full game with Tua this year, and he went for 109 yards.
Right.
Again, didn't score the touchdown, but
right. And okay, so we got bench wise, we got an empty spot. He's just picking and choosing, waiting.
Yeah, I'm guessing he probably just put Deontay Johnson on.
Just moved Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is fine. I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter that Deontay's out this week anyway. You wouldn't want to play him with Bryce Young, regardless.
Oh yeah. Okay, so here's my theory. Deontay Johnson has been playing through injury after injury after injury after injury. Last week he was on the injury report with 3 separate injuries, including this ribs injury. Kind of funny how all of a sudden Bryce Young is back starting and he's just going to sit out.
Yeah, and Deontay's like, you know what? This is really bothering me.
I think this might be the week I take a break.
I should take a week off.
Not going to catch the ball anyway. I'm just going to get beat up out there.
So on the bench, we're looking at Tyrone Tracy, who I assume Alex loves because he's got rookie fever. There's your endorsement right there. James Conner, who has stayed healthy to this point. I think that's the biggest factor, and has looked pretty good doing it. I mean, he's holding off Benson, and I can't imagine Benson's doing anything wrong to try to get in there. But if it ain't broke,
Yeah. Benson's a pure handcuff at this point.
Yep,
he's an elite one, but a pure one.
Yeah, Bubblicious Chuba Hubbard is here, and he's, Jonathan Brooks is going to cut into his usage when he comes back, which I assume will be in the next couple weeks.
I believe next week is like the deadline to.
Yeah, I think it is. I haven't heard anything about him for this weekend.
He's already been ruled out. He's been ruled out.
Okay. So yeah, I would say probably next week. Everybody has said that they expect Jonathan Brooks to come back and own that backfield and everything. It's not going to happen. First of all, Hubbard has been way more efficient than he ever has, and looks better doing it. Second of all, when your team is that god awful, there's no reason to rush a guy coming back from an injury like that into a full workload. So I would say 50-50 split at best, and maybe not even that much.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So Hubbard's going to be good to have, I think, for the stretch. And got to consider Carolina stunk last year too. So I don't have their schedule in front of me, but I would believe that they probably have a pretty friendly schedule for when you get to the playoffs. And then he might be cracking your lineup. Lad McConkey's a little on again, off again. It's just, I don't know what the identity of the Chargers is. It seems like they run Dobbins until the other team knows they're going to run Dobbins, and then they start throwing the ball. But, it's hard to tell each week who the best receiver is, At the beginning of the season, it looked like it was going to be Quentin Johnson, but then he went back to being Quentin Johnson.
That's right.
So I don't know, but Ladd is a guy that I like having stashed, especially in a PPR league. That's a good bye week fill in. But man, I'll tell you what, top to bottom, I really like this team.
Yeah, I do too.
I love what Walker's doing, and if Javonte keeps trending in the direction of getting more and more carries, I love that. CeeDee Lamb, what's not to like? DJ Moore and Jalen Waddle. And the bench isn't going to blow anybody away, but you're prepared at running back for anything to happen to yours.
Well, I think what I would do with that empty bench spot is there are a bunch of handcuff running backs available. I'd be going and picking up one of those guys, including Trey Benson, who we mentioned. You have James Conner. Maybe you go pick up Trey Benson. Maybe you go pick up Damian Pierce. He's a good handcuff to Joe Mixon. You got Kamani Vidal. You got Roshan Johnson. You got Charbonnet.
He's already pretty loaded at running back, though.
Yeah, but you can't have too many handcuff running backs. One of these guys could be the guy at any moment.
Well, I will say this. The chances are that Tuesday Deontay is going to have to come back off the IR.
Yes.
In this league, because he's only listed as out. So the first practice, they're going to be like, okay, he's practicing, he's questionable.
Sure.
So he's going to have to pull him out right away.
Sure, but we have games on Sunday and Monday, and all it takes is one of those games for some starting running back around the league to get injured, and all of a sudden, everybody's rushing to the waiver wire to pick up their handcuff, and oh wait, you have him on your bench already.
That's true.
for free. For free. You don't have to spend all your fab or whatever this league has. That's what I'd be doing. And you know what? To be honest with you, looking at the players who are available on the waiver wire for wide receiver, I'd also be dropping Tyler Lockett and picking up another handcuff running back. But you know how I feel about handcuff running backs. I want them all. That's what I want to fill my bench up with. I don't want any wide receivers on my bench, just handcuff running backs. And maybe I'm a little extreme with that, but it's done me well in the past.
Okay, moving right along to the Springfield Isotopes. Who's got five trophies apparently. You want to walk us through it, Alex?
Yeah. We'll start at the top of Lamar Jackson, having a great year. I think he might be MVP for the second straight year. He might get back-to-back MVP. Derrick Henry, I mean, just you got Lamar and Derrick Henry, and just ride that. Ride that to a sixth trophy, maybe. Josh Jacobs is, fine. Just getting volume and a good offense. That's really all we're looking for. AJ Brown, it's nice to have him back. He's been playing really, really well. Malik Neighbors, the first month or so of the season was absolutely exploding. Had the concussion, missed a couple games, and then he comes back, only catches 441. Now, I'm expecting him to go right back to exploding, but there is one concern that I have, and one that maybe not a lot of people are talking about or thinking about, and that is Andrew Thomas. The left tackle, Andrew Thomas, is out for the year.
Yeah.
We saw how much that affected the pass rush in that offense, how much it affected Daniel Jones in week 7 against the Eagles. That could be what holds back a guy like Malik Neighbors from really exploding. Now, I did talk about him as a buy this week because I think his value is the lowest it's been all year. And I do expect he'll get back to a high level of production, but it might be capped a little bit, could be affected by having no left tackle. We saw how bad that offensive line was last year and how much it affected the production in that offense, how much it affected the play of Daniel Jones. He's not a terrible quarterback when he has a clean pocket, but he is a terrible quarterback when he has a lot of pressure.
Right.
So that is my concern with Malik Neighbors. But I still like Malik Neighbors, and I'm buying low on him where I can. Tucker Kraft, I love Tucker Kraft. I remember we were on one of these shows. I don't know which league it was, who the other analysts on the show were, but I tried to bring up Tucker Kraft and I got laughed off the show. And here we are, Tucker Kraft performing as the tight end 4 on the season.
Well, I don't think I was on that show, but I've been steadfast in my support of Luke Musgrave.
Me too. I loved Luke Musgrave. I was drafting all over the place this year, but I had a little spot in my heart for Tucker Kraft as well.
And I didn't see this coming. This completely blindsided me. So I was lucky to get a share of him when I did. But yeah, he's been really good. And you're talking about a team with so many pass catching options, where you wouldn't expect. It's kind of like Komet in Chicago. You've got so many pass catching options. Like the tight end is usually like the forgotten man,
right?
And Tucker Kraft he's been spot on, and his routes look crisp. He finds seams really, really well. I'm digging him.
When you compare like a Tucker Kraft to a Luke Musgrave, and maybe this is why maybe we should have seen Tucker Kraft over Luke Musgrave, which, by the way, I did have Luke Musgrave ranked ahead of Tucker Kraft coming into the year. So I can't take a complete victory lap on Kraft. However, when you look at Kraft, he's more of your proper every down tight end. He's the guy who's playing in line. He's the guy when he's running routes, he's running them against linebackers and safeties. Right. Whereas Luke Musgrave, he's like your big slot type of guy where he's just an athlete. He was kind of raw coming out of college as well. We were really hanging our hat on the elite athleticism that he brings to the table. But he's one of these tight ends who lines up in the slot. He's going against corners, not linebackers. and he's not on the field as much because Tucker Kraft can be on the field for every play because he's blocking. He's blocking, he's chipping guys, and he's going out on a route. It just really opens up things for that type of tight end. I really, really tried to stay away from the tweener type tight ends. And we've kind of seen that with Kyle Pitts, how he has struggled over the last couple of years. And that's part of why, because he's not a real strong inline tight end. He's also not like an elite wide receiver either.
Yeah, he hasn't even been a very good blocker for most of his career going back to college.
So it's hard to find a consistent role in an offense for a tight end like that. He doesn't have that, he's just kind of in between. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. He's not George Kittle. George Kittle can do it all.
Unless you're Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers can line up against a cornerback and beat him.
Right, but they and somewhat to my surprise, they have used Brock Bowers as an inline tight end as well. He's not just split out. They're using him as well as a traditional guy, especially with Mayer missing some weeks. They've been able to use him in a more traditional role, and I think that's why, and part of what makes Brock Bowers so good is he can be that guy.
Yeah.
Let's
All right. Yeah. This has been the Tight End Show.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Marvin Harrison.
We might be a couple weeks away from having to have a kind of a hard conversation about Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like you can't not start him right now. First of all, the capital you spent on him, I assume, makes it hard not to start him, but the upside is just too good. You know what I mean? You're waiting for that like 200-yard, 2-touchdown game, and it could come at any time.
Well,
but like I said earlier about his is just the way he looked on the field. He just doesn't look engaged if he's not getting the ball, and coaches hate that.
And I saw a stat today. I can't remember exactly where, and I can't remember the exact stat, so bear with me. However, it was generally along the lines of Marvin Harrison Jr., his splits. In week two where he exploded, he had that big game. He scored like 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. In that first quarter of that game, he had 130 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Outside of that one quarter, combined, he has 170 yards and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, that's not good.
That is terrifying. You can't blame all that on the quarterback.
No, you can't. You can't. And they I don't know. I just wonder how creative they're being with him.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah,
I feel like
100%.
they're not being creative enough to get him the ball. When you've got somebody with that much talent, you got to figure out something. I mean, you just sank your draft capital into this guy. So you got to draw up some plays for him and tell Kyler, this is where it's going, or you throw it out of bounds.
Right. I mean, you look at the way the Giants have used Malik Neighbors. I mean, I saw some plays where he's lined up in the backfield. He's lining up in the slot. He's lining up out wide. He's taking jet sweeps. He's getting screens. He's getting this and that and this, that, as well as those down the field true X alpha wide receiver type routes. But they're not doing that with Marvin Harrison Jr. They're just running him down the field. They're playing him like he's Romeo Dobbs. They're just running him down the field out wide. He never comes inside. He never.
They're playing him like they're playing a game of Madden, and he's their wide receiver on the outside, and they just
you're over there.
He goes as far as he can. You run your quarterback backwards as far as you can, and then you heave it and like cross your fingers.
Right. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work in today's NFL, and I don't know if I'm redrafting rookie wide receivers, I'm definitely taking Neighbors over him. I'm taking Brian Thomas over him, Roma Dunze over him.
Yeah.
Anyway, we spent way too much time on just 2 players on this team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go to the bench. We got Najee Harris on the bench. He's been breaking out over the last couple of weeks, but he's another guy I'm putting on the trade block because he's not going to be the full bell cow with Jalen Warren in that
Yeah,
backfield.
Jalen Warren is finally healthy.
Right, exactly. Ramondre Stevenson, not so healthy. Brian Robinson, I'd like to get him in the lineup if I could. And then although this week's going to be tough. Then we got Khalil Shakir. He's fine. We got an empty bench spot, which again, I'm trying to use that bench spot to go pick up a handcuff running back.
Right.
And same as I said before, I'm dropping Khalil Shakir to do it as well.
Yeah, Shakir's one of those, like I said about the Buffalo wide receivers earlier. I'm not sold that Amari Cooper makes everybody irrelevant, but I'm also admittedly a big Khalil Shakir fan.
Me too.
I've been touting him since way before the season started.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I'm still hoping for him to hang on to a decent amount of target share. But he didn't in the first game. So
no, I liked Khalil Shakir coming up, but he's not a difference-making wide receiver. He's one of these fringe guys who, you can start, when you have a bye week, you can start when you have injuries. But there are 100 of those guys on your waiver wire.
Right.
And I think Khalil Shakir in this league, a 10-team league, I think he belongs there. Pick him up when you need him, drop him when you don't.
What do you think about this team?
Overall, I really like this team. That's my favorite one so far. You might be able to put Marvin Harrison Jr. on the block and kind of Marvin Harrison. Maybe you can package him with the Najee Harris and kind of see if you can upgrade in the flex spot a little bit. I think this team could really, really go far.
Yeah, I'm not surprised where they are in the standings. It's pretty top heavy, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
Having Lamar and Henry and AJ Brown, you get a lot of use out of AJ Brown before he completely falls apart in your playoffs.
I mean, Derrick Henry's sitting there as the RB1, and it's only October. Derrick Henry best months come in November and December.
Yeah,
we haven't even gotten the top Derrick Henry yet.
Right.
We're just gonna keep riding him.
All right, let's move on.
All right.
We're going to Red Solo Cup, and we've got CJ Stroud at the helm. He's got Breece Hall, who finally was fed well, and Jahmyr Gibbs, who's doing Jahmyr Gibbs things. I'm not that big of a Gibbs fan overall, but that's just me, I guess. Having Cooper Kupp back, I just don't think he should be like RB3 in like Dynasty. You know what I mean? Until David Montgomery is gone, we've seen the best out of Jahmyr Gibbs. He's not going to get any better. So
maybe. I mean, he's still scoring as a top 10 running back.
Yeah,
both years with David Montgomery. He's only 22 years old. I think he deserves to be up there in Dynasty.
Yeah,
he's second or third in our Dynasty rankings at yardswithfantasy.com. Check him out.
plug. Cooper Kupp came back. Put up 16. This is PPR.
Yeah, he went 551 and a touchdown. Yeah.
Okay. Cooper Kupp, Wandale, who I like a lot. He didn't really show out much this last week.
That's because some alpha wide receiver named Malik Neighbors came back.
Well, yeah, but he was getting targets before Malik Neighbors left.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I think his targets were down this week regardless.
Well, it was just an ugly game. That was an ugly game.
Yeah. Wandale is a curious case because I think all of he's averaging something like 7 yards a catch. Like all of his stuff has been really short field options, which normally would make him a lot less desirable in fantasy football. So he needs those targets because you need him catching 7 or 8 balls a game. Because he's not just going to go off with a 50-yard touchdown. out of nowhere. So, but I'm a fan. I have lots of shares of him, and I think Malik Neighbors being there actually helps him. Next up is the unicorn, Sir Brock Bowers. What can you say? I mean, he's the wide receiver one, tight end one. Can he play cornerback? I don't know.
Can we put him in the backfield over Alexander Madison?
I mean, seriously. He's been as advertised for sure and more. And, and with Devontae gone for good, I mean, I know he had already missed several games, but it's pretty much Bowers or nobody because, you can't. Even before O'Connell got hurt, I mean, Minshew doesn't throw the ball down the field with any accuracy either. So either way, your wideouts are going to struggle. So it's going to be Bauer's team from now to the end of the year.
Yeah, he's done it with both quarterbacks. He's doing it despite poor quarterback play, which is really encouraging.
Yeah.
At some point, he's going to be doing it with Desmond Ridder.
Right. No, he's not.
He might be.
Oh my God.
All it takes one Minshew injury, and that's Desmond Ridder season.
All right, DeAndre Swift, who right when I said he was going to lose the job, he had a schedule that went against like 4 of the worst rush defenses in the NFL. And it really saved his fucking ass, man.
As you were, right when I was celebrating Roschon Johnson season,
Me too. I was like, it's Roschon season.
Nope. Well, to be fair, Roschon still got in the end zone a couple times during that stretch too. So
yeah.
And everybody won.
And Swift has looked good. It's just that he could look good against those guys. You know what I mean? But I still don't think the leash is that long.
No, I don't think so either.
Swift. I think
but the paycheck is pretty big.
Yeah, and Roschon Johnson is just a much more physical back.
Yeah.
So if Swift starts, being a little less efficient, or is having trouble getting through the line, I don't think it's going to take long before Roschon gets that job. He's one of my picks for a league winner this year, because he might not take over for Swift until fairly late in the season, and people are going to be riding him into the playoffs.
Well, we talked about earlier with the Bengals backfield how much trust, like in pass protection and stuff, is so important. And Roschon Johnson, coming out of Texas, was one of the best pass protecting running backs coming out of college, like ever. That's something that he's really, really good at. So he's going to have a role in that offense in some capacity just because of that. They trust him in those situations.
Right.
Did you see the story this week about the kicker? I know we don't talk about kickers, but Brandon Aubrey. He's got jury duty during the week.
Jury duty.
He didn't even want to get out of it. He wanted to go to it. Cowboys tried to get him out of it. He's like, no, let me just go.
He's like, I've never been called for jury duty before.
All I do is kick. I don't need to be here. I just kick a football.
I want to prove that I'm worth something else to society. I don't just kick a football.
Well, when you're as good of a kicker as Brandon Aubrey, it probably gets kind of boring just hitting kick after kick after kick after kick. He wants to try his way as a juror.
Yeah, it sucks making all that money. Yeah. All right. So we got Jared Goff, as usual, underrated as hell.
MVP candidate, Jared Goff.
I mean, he's so good, and nobody ever gives him any respect.
No.
Well, I mean, some people do. People that analyze the game consistently do, typically. But a lot of, Joe Fantasy Football from down the block.
Right.
Or sitting next to you at the bars, like, Jared Goff, he sucks.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have the vision of Jared Goff from 5 years ago with the Rams stuck in their head still.
Right. Yeah. So Jared Goff, great backup there, and can even be interchangeable with Stroud, because Stroud is not Stroud from last year, and when he loses Nico Collins, that causes a problem. It doesn't make him bad. I'm just saying, anytime a quarterback loses their favorite weapon, it's not the best thing.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason,
I'm glad you got to it before I did.
Unearthly reason, Dalvin frickin' Cook is right. Did you lose a bet? Like
he picked him up like right before we went live.
What?
Well, that's because today the report came out that Dalvin Cook is about to be on the active roster. He's going to actually suit up for a game for the first time in like a year. But are we going to get anything from him? No. I mean, if Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott aren't going to do anything, you're just they're already Dalvin Cook. You got 3 Dalvin Cooks on that roster. It's not going to be any better. It's not going to be any different.
What'll be a real shame is if they give Dalvin Cook the ball more than they gave to either Elliott or Dowdle, and then they're like, "Look how smart we are," and you're like, "No, you just kept giving him the ball when you took it away from the other dudes."
Yeah.
James Dalvin Cook up here. Dalvin James Cook down here.
Yes. Just drop him. Please just drop him. Go pick up Braylon Allen. Go pick up Trey Benson. Go pick up a number of these handcuff running backs.
You've got the wrong Cook. You know they're brothers, right?
Oh, are they?
It literally is Dalvin James and James Dalvin.
Wait, is that actually their names?
That's actually their names, and they actually are brothers.
I knew they were brothers. I knew that.
Yeah.
I did not know that they had each other's middle names.
James Dalvin and Dalvin James. JD and DJ.
So creative, just like the league and the league 2025.
I hope this league appreciates the kind of knowledge you can only get from yards per fantasy.
Right.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Christian Kirk, when's he going to be traded? Hopefully soon.
I don't think he's gonna. I think the Chiefs probably were the number 1 spot for that.
Is he washed?
I don't think so. I think his quarterback is.
Yeah.
And his coach certainly is.
Yeah. How does that guy still have a job?
I don't know. I think the full plan was they were going to fire him after the Patriots game, and then all of a sudden they won that game.
I wish Schultz was here.
Well, I do sympathize with him a little bit, as much as I like to make fun of the Jaguars, because as a Patriots fan, it's not any better over here right now. I think his coaching situation might be even better.
As a Cincinnati fan, I went through it for all of the 90s. So
yeah, I mean
and the majority of the 80s as well.
Yeah, it's been really hard as a Patriots fan. We haven't won a Super Bowl in 5 years.
Oh my!
This sucks.
Fuck you.
It's been really brutal, man. Really.
Okay. Christian Kirk, he doesn't impress me. It's just, I mean, I guess he's okay to have on the bench as a bye week stash. Probably still better than anybody on the wire. At least for like immediately. Unless you want to take a chance on somebody. But you've already done that with Juwan Jennings, who's out this week. But he could, man, if he plays like he did the first time, I did not know he had that in him.
I don't think Juwan Jennings knew he had that in him.
Yeah. And he looked good doing it too. He's got my guy, Kyle Pitts, on the bench, so easily the best tight end room in this league.
Oh yeah, can we trade one of these guys?
You could. Well, he's not going to get much for Pitts.
Yeah, man.
Because he's still a little streaky. But Jonathan Brooks, he's waiting for him to make his debut. Nico Collins, he's patiently waiting for him to come back, thus making Stroud a little more viable as his starting quarterback. What did I do here? I don't like this team.
I like the last team we talked about better than this one.
I love Brees. I think he's still going to do a lot of really good things. I'm glad you got Cup back because he's important, and Bowers.
Well, at some point we're going to get Nico Collins back. That's going to change a lot.
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to change a lot.
Yeah, I just can't get past the Gibbs thing.
You get what do you mean? Jahmyr Gibbs has been a top 10 running back even with David Montgomery going off. He's RB7.
All right. All right, let's do Snark because my battery's gonna die.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Mark. We owe you an apology, Mark, because apparently drafting Justin Tucker in like the 6th round was the way to go. Drafting Tony Pollard in the 4th round. Apparently that was the right decision. We weren't wrong at all. You were right. You were right. All hail Mark. All hail to Mark.
Look at him now with Cade Otton too. Oh my God! After he loses Godwin and Evans, Cade Otton is a great guy to have.
And he's starting him over George Kittle. Terrible. Man. This guy has all the tight ends. He's got George Kittle. He's got Cade Otton. He's got Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely.
Jonathan Taylor's back this week. Saquon Barkley is Saquon Barkley. This is a really good team.
I don't know, man.
How did you guys slag this team? This is a really good team.
All right. It was more about how he drafted, I think, from what I remember. Let me pull up the draft results real quick.
Plus, he's got my guy, Diggs.
So he drafted Tony Pollard in the 4th round, which it's worked out, but it was outrageous at the time. Justin Tucker went around 7. He was the first to draft a defense. I mean, looking at it now, it actually doesn't look that bad. But he didn't draft a wide receiver until the 8th round. I'm sorry, the 6th round. That was the first time he drafted He drafted 2 tight ends in the top 5 rounds. I think just looking at the way this team is right now, Mark has just lucked his way into this. This is not a skill thing. He's still terrible at fantasy football.
What are you talking about?
His bench is terrible. He's got 4 tight ends on this roster, and he's starting the worst one of them all.
Okay, the bench is bad. So Dowdle didn't work out, and Jacoby Myers is not gonna work out now without Devontae there, without anybody being able to throw down there. But he's got the tight end 11.
He lucked into Saquon Barkley. He picked up Brian Thomas off the waiver wire somehow. He got lucky with that. I think
it was skill, Mark. I think it was skill.
He doesn't even have the defense that he drafted in the 9th round anymore.
Drafted a defense in the 9th round?
Somewhere like that, yeah. He was the first team to draft a defense by multiple rounds.
Was it a good defense at least?
The 49ers, no.
Well, the bench definitely needs work. But boy, I love the starting lineup. I love it.
Yeah, the starting lineup is really I'll tell you, the starting lineup is pretty solid. It really is.
This is my second favorite team.
I hate it. I don't like it.
This is my second favorite team.
Remember last week where there was a team that I was actively rooting against?
Yep. This is that one for you.
There's no way. And it's not because we were making fun of him in the first episode. I genuinely think he's actually just not good at fantasy football. This is a luck game. This is luck.
Damn, you're just throwing Mark under the bus.
I was prepared. I came in with an apology. I was looking for a paper bag to wear over my head. I was prepared to take the L. And you know what? I'm doubling down. I don't think Mark is going to win this championship. He might not even make the playoffs.
Or make the playoffs?
Might not make the
playoffs. Dude, 6 teams of 10 make the playoffs.
All right. He might squeeze in. He'll eke his way in there. He's not getting that first round bye though.
Mark, do some stuff about your bench. Get deeper. Jacoby Myers ain't it.
He could literally drop 90% of his bench and just redo his bench with the guys who are on the waiver wire. Tyler Lockett's out there. We got all these handcuff running backs I've talked about. We got a ton of quarterbacks that are out there.
Well, you got to keep what's Kittle, the tight end 4.
Yeah, I mean, put him over Cade Alton. I know Cade Alton is going to be a big winner over Evans and Godwin.
You got to keep the tight ends 4 and 11 from
Mark
your
Andrews.
bench.
Mark Andrews.
That's right. All right. What is your prediction? We are headed into Sunday of week 8. How is this going to finish? Who are your last 2 teams and who's going to take it?
I really like the Isotopes. And I really like I like the Red Solo Cup team as well. I think this is a good team.
Right.
Hold on, I'm trying to remember. I forget all these teams. I'm looking at real. Who do you like?
Solo Cup is awful. Can we both agree that the young ho ain't gonna finish last? This young ho don't finish last. Y'all better look out. This young ho coming for you.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I do. I also like the Muscle Hamsters. I think this is one of the teams that I liked in the first episode. I still like them a lot.
All right, who's your final 2?
All right, it's going to be the Muscle Hamsters and it's going to be the Isotopes. Isotopes are going to win.
I fucking hate the Isotopes.
Really?
Oh no, I hate Red Solo Cup.
Oh yeah,
I hate
Isotopes is Henry and AJ Brown and Neighbors and Tucker Kraft and bench.
That's a good team.
They're holding on to Chris Godwin so they can give him the ring at the end of the year.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. What if Marvin Harrison doesn't get it together? What if AJ Brown pulls his disappearing act in the playoffs like he usually does?
Who cares? Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson ride their ass to the ring.
Okay. I'm going to go Muscle Hamsters.
Yeah.
Against Mark the Snark.
Ooh. Somebody's going to pick the underdog.
And I'm going to take the Muscle Hamsters.
All right. I like it. So we're in consensus with the Muscle Hamsters at least. We got that down.
In the final 2, yeah. And I have Muscle Hamsters to win it. You got Isotopes to win it. And we both agree that young ho, hey, y'all, look. This young ho ain't staying in last. You heard?
Yes, we agree with that. 100% agree with that.
All right. Thanks for coming in and chit-chatting, guys.
You think they're going to make the playoffs? They might make it. They might make the playoffs.
Who, the Young Hoes?
Yeah.
Yeah, Young Ho is making the playoffs.
All right. Well, we do have a 3rd episode for this league at the end of the year. So we are going to know. We're going to know the results. We're going to get to the playoffs. We're going to talk about this team. We're going to see how far Mark falls in these standings.